Against the Gods is a Chinese web novel by Mars Gravity. I will be reading the English translation done by Alyschu and company over at wuzol.com/atg-index, or click the link provided in the description below. I will say this first off that I do not speak any Chinese, and I am sorry if I mispronounce any of the character names, and I will do my best to pronounce them properly. I am learning Japanese, so my pronunciation may be influenced by that fact. Please feel free to correct me on any names or places I am mispronouncing. Without further ado, here we go. Chapter 2, Losing Control. At this time, he was wearing a red wedding robe in a room plastered everywhere with double happiness red cloth. Last night, his grandfather Zhao Lie and his aunt Zhao Lingzi personally arranged this handiwork. His bedroom had been transformed into a wedding room. Suddenly, the door opened and an ethereal figure hastily came in. Zhao Che immediately stood up and smiled. "Aunt, is grandfather back?" Zhao Lingzi was Zhao Lie's daughter from when he was middle-aged. Although she was Zhao Che's aunt, she had only turned 15 this year and was 1 year younger than Zhao Che. She was still quite young, but her beauty was already charmingly touching. Her profound strength level was at the early 6th level of elementary profound realm, but even though she is not on par with Xia Qingyue, if compared, her spirit level was not that bad, since she was an important asset to the Zhao clan and was held in high regard. "Oh, Che-er, you have finally woken up." A gentle voice spread across the room as Zhao Lie entered. Seeing Zhao Che already out of bed with a normal complexion, Zhao Lie relaxed a bit. Behind him followed his housekeeper Zhao Hong and the number 1 doctor in Floating Cloud City, Dr. Sato. "It is good you have woken up and you do not look ill anymore, but let Dr. Sato examine you. Today is your wedding day and we cannot have the slightest error. Dr. Sato, please go ahead." Zhao Lie stepped aside during his speech. Dr. Sato put his medicine chest onto the table and sat in front of Zhao Che, lifting his hands to finger the pulse on Zhao Che's wrists. After a while, he took his hands off Zhao Che. "Dr. Sato, how is Zhao Che's condition? Is it serious?" Zhao Lingzi asked worriedly, with fearful nervousness etched on her face. Although she did not speak, Zhao Lie appeared solemn and had a fierce look on his face. How could he not be aware that Zhao Che's sudden collapse was strange? Dr. Sato's face slowly lit up and eased into a smile. "Elder Zhao, you do not need to worry. Your grandson's physical condition is excellent. He has no major ailments, or even the slightest cold. Perhaps your grandson fainted because he was so nervous and excited that his blood rushed to his head. After all, your grandson is marrying Xia Clan's daughter, the number 1 beauty in Floating Cloud City. Ha 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 ha." Although Dr. Sato tried to conceal his contempt, his words revealed his regret. A talented woman marrying a useless good-for-nothing with no future was truly hard for someone to accept. "That's great news," Zhao Lie sighed in relief and nodded in thought. "It must be hard on Dr. Sato to be pulled over so early in the morning. Hong, escort Dr. Sato to the living room to rest." "It's fine," Dr. Sato replied with a wave of his hand and lifted his medicine chest. "Since your grandson is all right, I will take my leave. Congratulations to Elder Zhao and on meeting Floating Cloud City's most outstanding granddaughter-in-law. I do not know how many people must envy you right now. Haha. Very well. You must remember to come to the wedding for a drink. Hong, escort Dr. Sato out." "Che-er, are you really all right? Do you feel unwell anywhere?" Zhao Li was not assured after Dr. Sato left and scowled in thought. When Zhao Che suddenly collapsed, his temperature dropped and his vitality faded away. This cannot only be a result of being too excited. Looking at Zhao Che's present healthy condition, he indeed looks fine right now, but Zhao Li still could not shake off the small doubt deep in his heart. "I really am all right, grandfather. You can rest assured." Zhao Che said with an easy expression. His nose could not help but suddenly sour as he looked at Zhao Liye, and he see a worried face with a head full of white hair. The Zhao clan consists of 5 elders, and although Zhao Liye was the 5th elder, he was the strongest in the clan. 5 years ago he entered the border of the Spirit Profound Realm's 10th level. He was now at the peak of the Spirit Profound Realm's 10th level and has an opportunity to break past the Profound Realm, a level that countless people dream of. Zhao Liye was only 55 years old this year, with the strength of the 10th level of Profound Spirit Realm, but all his hair had already turned white. Every time Zhao Che saw this head full of white hair, his heart became bitter at the sight. The reason why Zhao Liye had white hair since his middle-age years was known to all the people living in Floating Cloud City. His only son, the father of Zhao Che, Zhao Ying, was called the #1 genius of Floating Cloud City. At the age of 17, he broke into the nascent Profound Realm. At 20, he reached the 5th level of the nascent Profound Realm. At 23, he broke through the nascent Profound Realm and entered the true Profound Realm, shocking all the people of Floating Cloud City. He became the Zhao clan's pride, as well as Zhao Liye's pride and joy. Almost everybody believed that when Zhao Ying became middle-aged, he would be the best candidate qualified to inherit the leadership of the Zhao clan. Unfortunately, perhaps God was jealous of the elite, for there was an assassination attempt on Zhao Ying's life only after a month after Zhao Che was born. A few days before that, Zhao Ying also saved the life of Zia clan's daughter. After this rescue, Zhao Ying could only fend off the assassins with half his usual strength and drew his final breath. His wife's heart broke in grief for the loss of her love and went to meet him soon after. Zhao Liye's hair became white overnight due to the heavy blow of losing his son. 9 months later, Zhao Lingzi was born. Her mother also suffered from the tortured pain of losing her only son and died of depression a month later. Nobody knew how Zhao Liye lived his life the years after both his son and wife passed away. His pale white hair contained immeasurable grief, hatred, and a deep, unspeakable sorrow. To this day, Zhao Liye still has not found his son's murderer. Later on, he put all his hopes and wishes into Zhao Che, but the brutal truth of him being born with a damaged profound vein entered and left his life out of the blue like a bolt of lightning. However, facing his hopeless grandson, Zhao Liye never showed any signs of disappointment nor fury. In his point of view, being born with a broken profound vein meant that fate had been unfair and that he should not be condemned because such injustice. He should not be indifferent or ridicule Zhao Che, but instead should love him more to compensate for it. Over the years, he has always been seeking any possible ways to repair a damaged profound vein. However, the profound vein is the lifeline of one's profound strength. How can it be easily repaired? Although Zhao Che was ignored by others and was faced by the mocking eyes of others growing up, he still felt lucky to have such a grandfather. Looking at Zhao Liye's piercing white hair, Zhao Che's eyes gradually sharpened. Since the gods gave me this second chance and let me have both my memories, even if it is only to comfort my grandfather, I have to live vigorously. So what if my profound vein is broken? I am a medical saint's successor. As long as I find the right medicine, in a short span of 3 weeks, I could fully restore my profound vein back to normal. You're all right. That's wonderful to hear. Watching him, Zhao Liye was finally rest assured. Glancing at the brightening sky, he spoke. Chair, the hour is nigh. Go make your preparations while I arrange for the wedding team. All right. Do you want to ride horseback or sit in the carriage? If he was yesterday's Zhao Che, he would definitely have answered the carriage. Although he was the only grandson of an elder, without that status he could be called a good-for-nothing, with a world's difference between him and Xie Qingye. On his bridal path to the Xie clan, there would be no doubt that he would suffer countless finger-pointing and also numerous glances of envy and regret. One can imagine what feelings would surface if one met face-to-face in front of such negative emotion. Zhao Che laughed with a slight smile. "Of course, I'm riding on the horse. You do not have to worry about me, grandfather. Xie Qingye may be nobility, but she is already fated to be our Zhao family's daughter-in-law. I will openly wed her home with dignity and honor to not let you lose face." There was a delay in Zhao Lie's expression, for he would never have thought that his grandson would say such a thing. His face then broke into a gentle smile, and he slowly nodded, "Good." With just one word, his deep satisfaction came through. Zhao Lie stepped out of the room and gently closed the door. As soon as Zhao Lie left, Zhao Lingzi stood in front of Zhao Che and curled her lips. Her face warped in unhappiness. She spoke. "So you are excited for this marriage and make me worry for you in vain. You obviously have not met Xie Qingye that many times, but you are already fond of her. Oh, right. She is our Floating Cloud City's #1 beauty. Huh?" Zhao Che quickly waved his hands back and forth. "How is that possible? Xie Qingye is quite beautiful, but I think little aunt is prettier. If I've really fainted because of her, then I would not know how many times I would have fainted in this lifetime, because little aunt always accompanies me every day." Hehehe. Zhao Lingxi's face immediately broke into a sweet smile and giggled. "You know just the thing to say to make me happy. It is fine if Zhao Che fainted in his rush to marry her, because Xie Qingye is beautiful as she is talented. The Xie clan is also the wealthiest clan in Floating Cloud City, so there's quite a lot of people who dream of marrying her. However, she eventually is about to marry my family's Zhao Che." At this point, Zhao Lingzi wore a proud look on her face. Then her eyes became wistful as her voice gentled. "I feel like this day came so quickly. Zhao Che is already about to be married." A knock on the door was followed by the voice of old housekeeper Zhao Hongking. "Young master, it is almost time to go and meet your bride." "Ah, already?" Zhao Lingzi glanced at Zhao Che's clothes and suddenly looked anxious. "Uncle Hong, wait a little while longer and we will come out right away." She walked in front of Zhao Che, and a pair of soft hands began to quickly tidy his wedding clothes. "This outfit is quite hard to put on. Your clothes are in a mess because of the events earlier. Stand still. I will finish this right away." A pair of snow-white delicate hands began to work hurriedly. She flipped his collar back to the proper face and refastened his loose belt. Her actions were jerky, but she took it seriously and paid careful attention to what she did. Zhao Che silently looked at her, and his eyes gradually became misty. Today he was going to marry Xie Qingye, but he knew for sure that Xie Qingye was not marrying him because she sincerely loved him. If it wasn't for their fathers, Zhao Xing and Xie Hongyi's agreement that March, Xie Qingye would not have even bothered to take a glance in his direction. Only people in this world were kind to Zhao Che were only his grandfather, Zhao Lie, and his little aunt, Zhao Lingzi. During his earliest childhood, Zhao Lingzi stuck to Zhao Che like a piece of candy. She followed him wherever he went. It was hard for him to shake her off. If she did not see him for a while, she would cry loudly. However, when Zhao Che turned 10 years of age, and it was confirmed that his profound vein was damaged, Lingzi seemed to grow up overnight. She knew the consequences of having a broken profound vein, and then understood the concept of her identity as his little aunt. This started her regimen of training in the ways of the profound to protect the life of the weaker Zhao Che. After Azure Cloud Continent's 24 years of dreams. Zhao Che felt that his time here with Zhao Lingzi's kindness was as luxurious as it was precious. Although Xia Qingyue was about to become his wife, she would only be like the sky's coldest moon, something only to be seen but not touched. If I marry a girl like Little Aunt, it would be perfect. These kinds of thoughts uncontrollably popped up in Zhao Che's state of mind. After completing the complex motions of dressing Zhao Che, Zhao Lingzi let out a sigh of relief. Tippy-toeing, she lifted her hands and tousled his hair, with an expression of tender affection clearly printed on her face, her pink lips slightly parted like petals of a flower. With a supernatural speed, Zhao Che instinctively tilted his head and pressed his mouth against Zhao Lingzi's luscious pink lips. Chapter 3. Marry Me. Ah! Zhao Lingzi cried out and sprang backwards like a frightened rabbit. Her fingers touched her numb lips as her beautiful eyes widened in surprise, and a touch of red quickly spread from her fair face to the nape of her neck. You kissed me again! You have the same reaction as usual. The innocent Zhao Che had a heartbroken expression on his face. When we were younger, we always played your favorite kiss-kiss game. These days, you go into shock every time I try to kiss you. You knew that was when we were kids! Zhao Lingzi's face flushed in the color of a red rose. We're now adults and we cannot afford to mess around. You are soon to have a wife. In the future, you can only kiss your wife. Why? Because I'm your aunt. Zhao Lingzi stomped her foot and lost her breath. Then, what do I do if I want to kiss you? Smiling mischievously, Zhao Che put his hand under his chin. Then, you should marry me. Zhao Lingzi turned her nose up in anger. Hey, you're my aunt. How could I possibly marry you? Zhao Che said with his voice lowered as his eyes widened. Even you know that. If you dare steal another kiss, I'll let your wife know and let her handle you. Zhao Lingzi looked at him triumphantly with her nose in the air. Zhao Hong's voice came from the outside once again. Young master, are you ready? It's about time to go get the bride. Yes, I'm coming out now. Zhao Che looked at his current outfit and got ready to leave. After 2 steps, Zhao Lingzi grabbed his hand and said with a serious face, Zhao Che, before leaving, repeat the promise we made yesterday, word for word, or I won't let you go. Yesterday's promise? Zhao Che thought for a while and cannot help but say, All right, after entering the marriage with Xia Qingyue, I won't forget about Little Aunt just because I have a wife. I'll spend the same amount of time with Little Aunt like before. I will listen to Little Aunt's calls and would arrive as soon as I'm called just like before. I don't think I forgot a word. Hugh, what a good boy. Zhao Lingzi smiled sweetly but not release Zhao Che's hand. However, we will be adding another one today, the one I forgot yesterday. Although Xia Qingyue is about to become your wife, in your heart, she cannot outweigh me. Repeat that right now. Hurry, hurry, hurry! Zhao Che gazed at her beautiful eyes and said, If you kiss me, I will make that promise. Then, marry me? ... Zhao Che was defeated. Young master, are you still not ready? It's forbidden to be past the auspicious time, Zhao Hong's urgent voice came from the outside again. Zhao Che put his hand on the door, but he did not push it open yet. He whispered, I can't make that promise because in my heart, you are already my number one. Even if there were 100 Xia Qingyues, she cannot catch up to you. You are irreplaceable. As his voice faded, he pushed the door open and left. Zhao Lingzi stood still, frozen in place for a while. An arc formed on the edge of her lips, and she joyfully skipped out afterwards like a girl who was given her favorite candy. As Zhao Che walked out of the room, his gorgeous wedding team awaited him. Zhao Hong kindly smiled at him. Young master, please get on the horse. On the way, I will be protecting you with everything I have. But of course, today is young master's big day. I should not worry that much, since there would be only good things that are waiting to happen. Thanks, Grandpa Hong. Zhao Che smiled at Zhao Hong and got on his horse. A gentle voice suddenly came from his left. Looks like I just came at the right time. Is Brother Zhao Che going to retrieve his bride now? Felicitations. Zhao Che's eyebrows furrowed slightly at that sound, and saw two young men slowly walk to his side. The person who spoke was a 20-year-old young man of medium build. He was as handsome as he was elegant. His eyes were crystal clear on top of a refreshing face, and he wore a bright smile. At his rear was a thinner young man. His footsteps followed quickly behind the speaker. Watching them, Zhao Che smiled. Oh, it's Brother Yulong and his brother Zhao Yang. Did you guys especially make this trip here to see me off? Zhao Yulong was the son of the leader of the Zhao clan. At the age of 20, regardless of his appearance, his talent, use of speech, and wisdom was at the top of the younger generation in the Zhao clan. His profound strength had reached the third level of the nascent profound realm at the moment. He is his father, Zhao Yunhai's pride and joy, and is also the future hope of the Zhao clan. The clan had high expectations of him because he would become the next leader if no accidents should occur. He possessed many good qualities, but he had never been arrogant. He is one who is kind and polite to everyone, even towards Zhao Che, who is considered to be disabled in everyone's eyes. He has never mocked Zhao Che, but instead was as gentle as was polite. Not only that, he frequently expressed signs of concern when faced with Zhao Che's damaged profound vein problem. Zhao Che had always liked Yulong. He admired and appreciated Yulong's kindness. Of course, those feelings came from the previous Zhao Che. The identity of the person behind Zhao Yulong was also not that simple. He was not just an ordinary Zhao clan disciple. He was the second elder's youngest grandson, Zhao Yang. At the age of 19, he was at the ninth level of the elementary profound realm. Ever since he was a child, he always followed Zhao Yulong around and listened to his every word. However, he wasn't as kind to Zhao Che as he was to Zhao Yulong. Even though they were both grandsons of the elders, he had never cared for Zhao Che. Whenever Zhao Che tried to strike up a conversation, he would either ignore or respond with an upturned nose. As the grandson of the Zhao clan elder, not only did Zhao Che have his own housing, but he also owned a separate little courtyard. Aside from his grandfather Zhao Lie, his aunt Zhao Lingzi, and one of his best friends, very few people actually came to visit. At this time, Zhao Yulong came with Zhao Yang with the purpose of watching him go on his wedding journey. "Haha, of course!" Zhao Yulong approached with a hearty laugh and said, "The person you are marrying today is our Floating Clouds City's #1 brightest jewel. It is not only our Zhao clan's big event, but it is our Floating Cloud City's big event. Since you have the chance to marry this treasure, your brother here is very happy for you. Of course, I am also envious and ashamed as well. Ha 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 ha." Zhao Che also laughed. Brother Yulong tells such a funny joke. With Brother Yulong's talent, the entire women population of Floating Cloud City is yours to pick from. "Young master, we must get going," Zhao Hong warned. "Brother Zhao Che, hurry up. We eagerly await for you to spectacularly bring in Floating Cloud City's brightest jewel into the Zhao clan," Zhao Yulong said with a smile. Zhao Che nodded and immediately sat tight. The wedding escort team rode through the courtyard to the sound of the beating drums and gongs straight toward Zia clan's home. The moment Zhao Che disappeared from sight, Zhao Yulong's smile froze and darkened. He suddenly turned around and fiercely slapped Zhao Yang hard in the face. In a low voice he hissed, "Pathetic!" Zhao Yulong's slap was a direct hit, and Zhao Yang's left cheek began to swell. He hurriedly scrambled at the foot of Zhao Yulong and fearfully spoke. I clearly threw in the murdering heart powder, and the message I received confirmed that he did collapse. I also do not know what is going on here." Zhao Yulong's eyebrows tightened and distorted his face. I spent so much money to get that poison, and not even Dr. Sato has the cure to. But you screwed it all up! Don't tell me you want me to personally see Xia Qingyue marry that wastrel Zhao Che! Boss, that kid only has just left. We will have an opportunity on the Reading Road. Although we cannot personally take care of this for fear of being seen, we can instigate a resistance army from Yuan clan and others. There are other men of nobility who covet Xia Qingyue. Just listening to people speak about Xia Qingyue's marriage to Zhao Che would make their teeth itch. If we encourage them a little and go out together, we would be able to... If it was really that simple, why did I spend so much time getting the murdering heart powder? Zhao Yulong coldly interrupted Zhao Yang and continued. Zhao Che is a good-for-nothing, but his grandfather is at the 10th level of profound spirit. Who would dare to offend him? Also, Xia Qingyue's father did not object to this marriage at all. Who would dare openly offend the Xia clan and the Zhao Che? Even if Yuan clan's boys grouped up with the governor's boys, their family would obviously prevent them from doing anything. And didn't you see that old bastard Zhao Hong personally escort him? With him around, how could any trouble start? While speaking, Zhao Yulong clenched his hands. The sounds of bone being dislocated popped in the air. For the first time he saw Xia Qingyue. He thought that he had encountered an angel and was already lost. From then on, he swore to make Xia Qingyue his woman in this lifetime. But Xia Qingyue was actually going to marry Zhao clan's most despised Zhao Che. How could he ever willingly accept that? Boss, in fact, you do not need to worry that much. Zhao Yang glanced at Zhao Yulong's facial expression and carefully spoke. Think about it. With Xia Qingyue's temperament, that never even bothered to glance at any of the talents in Floating Cloud City. Would she even like that kid, Zhao Che? The only reason she is marrying Zhao Che is because of an agreement made 16 years ago. If she marries into the family, it is absolutely impossible for Zhao Che to even touch her finger. After she has entered our Zhao clan, the chances of boss meeting her would be greatly increased. The good-for-nothing Zhao Che is not comparable to the boss's natural handsomeness and talent. After a while, how could not impress that Xia Qingyue by that time? Listening to Zhao Yang's words, Zhao Yulong's gloomy scowl began to stretch while his narrow eyes squinted. He touched the tip of his nose with his finger and whispered, "You make a pretty reasonable point. Looks like not being able to poison that wastrel to death can also be a good thing." That is the end of chapter 3, and thank you for listening. And Instant Death signing off.